So we're at the end of the road and I can't let go.
Death to everyone and everything. I am Thanos now.
No. Only half of the universe, right?
No. As I throw things.
We're bringing life back to that second half. Hi, I'm Joe.
And I'm Lauren.
And we are
the
NeuroNerds.
Yes, that was on time.
I feel pretty good about that.
NeuroNerds.
All right, welcome to the NeuroNerds Quantum episode. Why is this episode so special? I'm talking to Lauren from halfway across the world.
I am almost literally 6,000 miles away from LA right now.
How crazy is that? But like, I'm looking at you on screen. You guys can't see this, but I'm looking at Lauren on screen and she looks really angry.
I am so upset. So I just literally saw Endgame. I just got out of the theater 45 minutes ago. If you guys follow me on Instagram, you might have seen a story where I said the movie just ended. I loved it, but I am pissed.
You look really mad.
Oh my God.
Do you want to know what you look like? You look like what you look like right now.
I'm like, I have a lot of emotions, and I always have emotions and I always have it. But like this one was like, it was an amazing ride. There's a couple issues, and then just the last few minutes ruined it. Like
all right, do we want to talk about the last few minutes, or do we want to talk about like how do you want to like process this? Do you want to process this out by saying, all right, well, yeah, like the movie was good, and then we get to the end, or do we want to start at the end?
You know what? Let's. I think everyone deserves a nice ease in. Let's spoiler alert for everyone out there. By the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is going to be
so those three people out there, those three people who haven't seen the movie.
No. We got to be kind. There's quite a few people who probably don't get to see it opening night and the next day. Okay,
that's very true. I saw it on a Thursday night, so absolutely 100% spoilerific takes right now. Us processing what just happened.
All the feels like. I'm probably more raw. I'm going to be less articulate than usual, guys.
Hey, I set that bar really low, so don't worry about it. You're fine.
It's okay. We can have a role reversal. You can be Lauren and I can be Joe. We'll see how that works.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Physically fear me. No?
No.
Yeah, it doesn't work that way. So it started out really cool. Okay, so like what I kept hearing from a lot of people, it's like the first 20 minutes, it kind of dragged a little bit.
I didn't think so.
I didn't think it did. I think it was the perfect amount of drag, I guess.
Can I just say I was crying already within the first 5 minutes. Like that's the one thing. One of the things they did so well in this movie was finally giving us like emotion in this movie, like real emotion. And
with not just one or two characters, with all of them.
And you know what? I have to do a huge shout out to Jeremy Renner. He carried the emotions of this movie. It was beautiful. I love that man.
How good was he? So I'm not a hater. I'm not.
Yes,
I joke around a lot. Okay, I'm a little bit of a hater. So I joke around a lot that he's like, oh yeah, he's doing a bow and arrow. He made fun of it in Age of Ultron. He's like, yeah, I got a bow and arrow. None of this makes any sense. So he's kind of like the weak Avenger, right?
He's self-aware. He is
self-aware. He is. But if you're like, oh, okay, well, we got a Hulk, we have like a god of thunder, and then we got a guy with a bow and arrow. So like he's always been kind of the joke. He might have been the dopest character in the movie.
Oh my God. I was
Ronin
blown away. And his haircut, I'm loving that undercut look.
Hey, I'm happy and I'm excited about any haircut because I'm a bald man.
Yes,
so I could live vicariously through that cartoony like Tintin hair thing that he had going on. It was awesome. I thought, so immediately starts out, you're in tears.
Yes.
Tears.
Because it's either tears for Hawkeye, right? Losing everything. Right. And everyone lost everything. Right? And then, Paul Rudd. Oh my God. Looking for Cassie. I was crying.
Oh, that was so rough. So the one that really got me was the Hawkeye thing, because they did that TV trope thing where it's like, everything is so amazing. And right when everything is like the peak of amazing, everything is terrible. It reminded me of Heroes. So the TV show Heroes, there was a scene where like one of the guys, Nathan, his wife, she's like, oh, I love to dance. Dancing is everything to me and I feel so free with my legs. And like the next scene, she's crippled.
Oh,
So I mean,
I'm going to point this out. I actually saw this in Spanish, so I am going to see it again in
oh,
English. Um, so the emotions were a little different for me because I like the voices were a little different. It was really good. Like the dubbing was great, but some of it
he was like, Thanos, ¿por qué?
not quite, but not far from that. My biggest issue was I kept confusing the voice actor for Tony Stark and Cap, like for Captain America. Like they were pretty
Oh.
close in the voices, but by 40 minutes in, I was like, okay, I can.
Oh, that would have been really weird to me because I'm so used to hearing these characters. Like they're a member of the family, you know? Like I've dealt with them for the past decade.
Yeah. So I was actually that. I mean, that should say like how well the emotion was acted and presented on screen. That in a foreign language with voices that don't match those actors, like you, I was able to feel. I was crying. I will say.
Oh, that's awesome. That's actually really cool.
Yeah, I will say this is the first movie, especially a comic book movie, that I have ever heard people sobbing in the theater.
It might have been me.
From 6,000
I
miles away.
cried a lot. I really, really cried a lot. So with Hawkeye in particular, he had his family there. He had his wife, he had his children. He's teaching his daughter like how to shoot a bow and arrow, and like they got like a bullseye, and I was like, oh, you're doing great. This is beautiful. And then like the next moment, dust. And it wasn't like they dusted in front of him. They dusted like with his back kind of turned, and then like he turns around and they're gone. And the panic to see the husband, father looking for his family. Oh my God. Like it was just so emotional. Jeremy Renner is awesome. He was so good.
Yes. And then after the Paul Rudd and then the crying with Tony Stark and Nebula, I kind of dug their like friendship. But like he looked so sick. And as he should, being like when they pulled him out of the aircraft and he was so skinny and his whole character was gone. Like I was like, who are you? You're not Tony Stark.
No, he had like the yellow eyes. He was sunken in. It was really good. There was one scene in particular, like it showed Nebula and Tony kind of become friends a little bit. Not even friends, just
football.
Paper football. They were playing paper football, which was great. It was just like this nice back and forth. And there was another scene where they're like running out of food. And like, so there was like a bag or whatever. And Tony like eats a piece and then there's like a little bit left and he hands it to her. And she's like, no. And she like gives it right back to him, which I was like, oh my God, Nebula has feelings.
Yeah. And then I will say that Captain Marvel, she was like a deus ex machina the whole movie. Like, you know, I respect that because we needed that in the movie because there was
she was the biggest alpha male.
Yeah, but yeah, I don't really have an opinion with it. I mean, they did some amazing things. What was nice is she just had a movie, so this movie wasn't all about her. I really liked that she was there and then gone and then there and then gone.
Yeah, like her movie, you just made $1 billion. You know what I mean? Everybody just saw your movie. We don't need to see all of that. We need to tie up the loose ends with Iron Man and Captain America, and Black Widow.
Okay.
And some other characters.
I'm thinking instead of going blow by blow, because this would be a 3-hour episode.
I think it needs to be like a 9-hour episode. I got a lot of shit to process.
What do you think if we did like the things we liked, like things we thought that the Russos did excellently? See, I can't even talk. And then the things that we're upset about, because I have a couple that I'm really upset about.
Yeah, there's a few things. There's more good than there was bad.
Agreed.
A few well, let's see. Few issues for me. It's not even an issue. We got to see Professor Hulk, which was cool.
Oh, so we're gonna go with the issues first or the good things?
Well, it was a good thing. Okay, so it not the major issues, the good and bad issues. So like Professor Hulk was cool, but I really wish I miss Smash Everything Hulk, which was cool. Sleep and Felice, they called Professor Hulk, they called him Influencer Hulk. He was at the he was like hey.
But you know what I thought was really cool with playing that, because again, I think a lot of people might have had an issue, was where we got the two Hulks and there was one that he was Hulk smash, and then like Professor Hulk was like, yay, boom, I'm impotent.
Oh my God. That's why Hulk smashed.
Yeah.
So that was cool. I thought it was it was a bit of a rushed intro, but again, it was a 3-hour movie.
Yes.
What can you how much backstory do you need with that? Things I loved Ronan. I loved Hawkeye's character Ronan, what he turned into, because you felt horrible for this dude. He lost his family, he lost his friends. So what does he do? he's still a hero. He still feels like he has to avenge things. So what does he do? He takes out the mafia. He takes out the syndicate. He takes out the Yakuza.
Oh, I want
Oh,
to say
man.
the Yakuza boss that he killed. I love that actor. I will love him.
Is he amazing?
He's amazing because he was in Last Samurai. Then he was in
Yes.
one of the Wolverine movies.
He
right?
was. He was in the Wolverine.
Yeah, thank you.
Like, yeah. He was also in a Helix, this sci-fi show that I thought was pretty good.
He was also
he's awesome.
he was in a movie where he was I cannot remember. He was the adopted or the orphan brother of the white hero. And I remember it was a sword fight at the end of the movie, and he had a white suit on. And I cannot remember the movie off the top of my head.
But I love that guy. I think I thought he was like, as soon as I saw him, I was like, oh my God, he's gonna be like a bigger character. No,
It's
Hawkeye
like
murdered him.
all the little cameos that were like Ken Jeong, right?
That was pretty cool. That was because the Russos, they directed a few episodes and produced the Community or Community, the TV show. So that's why you had Ken Jeong, the chick in the elevator that was like turned in like Captain America and Tony Stark in the past. She was like, and then the guy and the stuff.
Yeah.
She was also in Community. I forget her name.
All right. What else did you like?
I'm still obsessed with Hawkeye. Like I really am. Like I'm super obsessed. I really like the way that they describe time travel.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, let me just say, like, hearing that in Spanish was a little bit hard because there were some words I was like, "Shit, what does that mean again?" So, like, I was literally like, okay, context, great, okay, because some of the words in English, even though I speak Spanish, like my brain has to go, wait a second, like quantum mechanics. I'm like, how do you say that in Spanish? So yeah, that
Quantum
was
mechanicos.
Yeah, sure,
Yeah, no, it was close. I like their description, the way they described it. I loved the random cameos. I wasn't expecting the Ancient One. That was so cool.
Or Michelle Pfeiffer at the end of the movie.
Oh, okay. So that another love. There was I guess it might have been a little teaser to A-Force, like the all-female team up.
Yes.
Where they had that one scene where all the women were like, "Oh yeah, we're here."
Almost all the women of Marvel.
Oh.
And I
okay, so I hated that, but I love it.
Yes, I agree.
I love it. There had to be some kind of consequence.
I mean, we'll get into that. We'll get into that.
Yeah. So there had to be some kind of consequence. I loved that there was. One thing I didn't super love, there wasn't enough.
Agreed.
I expected several people to die.
I wanted all the original Avengers to die. Like, I was like, wait, why are you all alive?
Oh, that was that's another love dislike. I love that they made Thor fat. They made Thor the dude.
I loved that.
Okay, is it just me or did he look like Volstagg?
He did, and then the beard. His stomach was disturbing, but like the man boobs were even worse.
Oh,
when he sat on the chair. Okay, if you don't know, so Thor was the comedic relief, which I actually think Chris Hemsworth might actually like more comedy roles. Like, because he did the Ghostbusters, he's doing the Men in Black movie, and I think maybe comedies maybe that's his niche. And
it is. I mean, he was great in Ragnarok. Ragnarok was hilarious. He was great in that.
So like that was his role, which I thought was cool, but like at the same time, I was like, I'm sorry, I didn't get a shirtless scene this movie that was not disturbing.
You did.
That was not.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, he was looking a little Volstaggy. If you don't know, Thor looked like your 45-year-old, live in his mother's basement, beer belly, sweatpants, and Crocs on. Like, I'm not exaggerating. He was wearing Crocs and sweatpants.
That's exactly. He looked like Kevin Smith. Like he just got.
He was
really, really depressed. He was really, really depressed because he was like, well, half the universe is gone if I only aim for the head. So even though, like he let himself go. And my issue with that. Yeah, my issue with that is it just lasted forever. Like I really wanted the God of Thunder. Yeah. But I got the God of Thunder thighs, I guess.
Yeah. Like I agree. Like I was like, oh, this is good. But I was like hoping there was like a training montage or like when he accepted his power, like he would drop the weight and we would get.
Yeah, maybe like Doctor Strange would come in and like snap his finger and then be like, oh yeah, Thor, you're skinny again.
Yeah. Like it was fine. But I was like, yay, body positivity, baby. Like Yay. But I was like, I'm sorry, I paid to watch Chris Hemsworth and I get a shirtless scene every moment, every movie, and this one just didn't deliver.
Well, yeah. So so what else? Oh, I liked when at the kind of tail end when everybody came back, Doctor Strange opened
Yes.
up like the portals and like all the heroes came out.
Yes.
That was superhero,
That was
a beautiful superhero moment. It was comic book ready. You know what I mean? Like it was right off the page
Yeah.
of a comic book.
And what I appreciated was that the Russos finally treated that with like respect. Because a lot of Marvel movies, when it's like this like quintessential comic book, like even though it's cheesy, but it's like that comic bookness where they own it and it works in world, but then they undercut it with like a cheesy joke or something funny. So
Right.
it completely
Right.
loses all that seriousness and validity in that world. Not this movie. This movie,
No.
so the term is called bathos. I think I mentioned it in another episode when it has to do with comedy and undercutting a serious scene. There was
Mhm.
I really appreciate that there was very little of that in this movie. So it didn't take you out of the emotion or of the story. Like you were committed, everything stayed, the emotion was there, and it was honest.
Right. I thought it was going to be like that. I thought there was going to be like, oh, well, this person died. Yeah, but here's this joke.
Right.
Because at the early beginning, maybe the first like half hour or so, there was maybe 2-3 times where it was like, oh, there should be a really, really serious scene, but there was kind of like an underlining humor there. But then when it got dark, and it stayed dark. And not to be like, oh yeah, it has to be like the DC extended universe has to be dark and gritty. No. There's a time for the funny, and then there's a time for the serious, and they had a really beautiful balance in this movie.
Yeah, like it really did a good job of staying away from that Zack Snyder, like DC gritty. We're so serious and dark. It was a Marvel movie, but like the most epic way. It was a comic book literally come to life. Is what
Yeah, it was a grown up Marvel movie.
Yes. Yes.
It took them 10 years to figure it out, but they did it.
And billions of dollars, it finally gave us what we wanted.
If you enjoy listening to this podcast, please consider leaving us a 5-star review on the Apple Podcast app. Your reviews help us grow and reach more listeners like you.
Find us by searching for the NeuroNerds on the Apple Podcast app today. Man, it was so big. It was so epic. So, yes, a few issues. It's not a perfect movie.
Yeah, I was gonna say, let me talk about the things I liked first before I spend the rest of the episode just freaking out and throwing.
On the last 10 minutes.
So I liked all the things Joe was talking about. I actually really appreciated the pepperoni relationship. Pepper and Tony, if you ship them, I do. They got together. They had a little girl. That little girl was
that was
cute.
sweet. She was adorable.
So cute. I really appreciated that. I was really pissed off at Tony Stark, but I understood what he was doing and where he was coming from, but I was like really annoyed with him. Yeah. I actually really liked the friendship that they put with Natasha and Steve.
Oh, that was nice.
That bond, that like bro ship, that bro TP was really nice because they both lost people that were important to them. She can't find Clint and Bucky's gone, right? Like they got nothing. Let me think. Loki. I like it and I didn't like it. I'm like, I'm sorry. I did not pay to see Avengers 1. Like, I'm sorry. I didn't want the behind the scenes Avengers 1. I know they were doing that to set him up for the TV show.
For that series, for sure. And he got away with the Space Stone.
Yes, he did. So that'll be interesting. Oh, I really love, again, I was more about the relationships that I loved. I love bringing Renee Russo back and having her.
Oh, cried. Tears.
Beautiful.
Oh my God.
Like that was so sweet. And Renee Russo's like the perfect mom for Thor, right? And I was like, oh my goodness. Like I was really appreciative of the way they treated most of the relationships in this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah,
she's beautiful. She's awesome. And he was kind of like, he was broken and she saw like right through that. She knew he wasn't like her son from this point. And like, she was great in that scene.
Yeah.
And then he's basically like, hey, I don't want you to die. And she's like, hey, you're not here for me.
Exactly. Exactly.
She's like, you got to do this for you. She's like, I'm good. Oh, cried.
That was really like, good. Yeah. I cried.
Like, ugly crying. I'm not like a cute crier by any way, shape or form.
Mm-hmm.
I was like ugly crying like at least twice during the movie. I was like, nope, don't. I'm in public. Can't do it. But yeah, when she came out on screen, I was in tears. It was beautiful. It was such a nice emotional touch for Thor's
Yeah.
story.
So they did an homage.
Real quick, I did like with Loki. Speaking of Loki, now we know why he had the thing on his mouth.
True. He made Thor's like, shut the fuck up.
Yeah, I really like that because I always thought, I was like, oh, I wonder why they put the thing on his mouth. It wasn't a big deal, but it was a nice touch. Now we absolutely know he wouldn't shut up, so Thor had to shut his mouth. I love that.
Because Loki's a little shit. What was I saying? I appreciated the shout out to that. Is it a failed storyline or that very short-lived storyline of Hydra Cap? Right?
That was so brilliant.
Right? Because they had the
so brilliant.
They had the strike team come in. That was cool to see Frank Grillo again, right? And
it was also cool to see Sitwell.
Yeah. But what I liked was they were really just literally doing a Winter Soldier scene in the elevator, and then he turns to Sitwell and just whispers, "Hail Hydra." I was like, "Oh my God."
He's like, yeah. I'm gonna have to call this in. He's like, no, you're good.
Don't worry, trust me. Hail
Hydra.
Oh, epic. And it was epic.
It was so good.
But then the one thing that was a little weird, and I was like, oh, what's going on here, is when they were downstairs and then Robert Redford, Alexander Pierce comes in. I was like, Robert Redford, I know this has been a few years, but you looking a little old there, a little messed up. Your hair, like, did makeup not come to your hair or something? Did they not pay you enough to be in this movie? Like, what happened?
He did look very disheveled.
And I'm like, well, maybe because it was Battle of New York. I mean, like, he's stressed out. Like, okay, maybe. But I was like, my impression of Alexander Pierce's character is that he is always put together and in control of. And he had freaking Bucky at that time. I was like, that's the one. See, that's the one of the things I had an issue with was the acknowledgement of Bucky, which we will get into.
Also, we're not talking enough about the maid that Robert Redford killed for no reason. That was kind of a bummer.
Oh yeah, her name was shit, and I remember her name normally. But anyway,
of course you do.
What else did I like? Okay, I really also, we will talk about this later, but I really liked Nat and Clint's relationship. Their friendship. I know.
It was what I wanted it to always be.
Yes, exactly. And that because we finally got like the honest relationship and friendship, it hurt so much. We're avoiding
bad.
We're avoiding the spoiler because I think we both have an issue with this.
Oh, so bad. I do and I don't, but yeah.
What else did we like? I like that Pepper had her Iron Man suit.
Oh yeah, the rescue suit.
Yeah, her rescue
which was cool.
Suit, which was cool.
I had less issue with her being a badass in the rescue suit than I did when she had the extremis virus in her, and then she's like, "Oh yeah, I have the extremis virus in me. Oh, now I'm a ninja, jumping through the air, and I'm a badass out of nowhere."
Yeah, I have a problem with most movies where people get superpowers and suddenly they know martial arts. I'm like, no, you don't.
Wait, it doesn't work that way?
Nope, doesn't work that way.
This April, our Patreon donation spotlight is brain aneurysm survivor Amelia Clark's new nonprofit, sameyou.org.
Their mission is to create immediate post-acute rehabilitation for young adults who have suffered a brain injury or stroke. A portion of our Patreon proceeds will go towards this amazing nonprofit.
Sign up to support us at patreon.com/the NeuroNerds. # the NeuroNerds give back. I really, really, really love Rocket. I think anything that Rocket does is great.
Rabbit! Get the rabbit!
He's funny. He's witty. He's a jerk. He's like me. He's hairy. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Rocket's my spirit animal, for real.
Oh, I really like Nebula in this movie.
She grew a lot. And then when they did the time travel and she met herself, it was like, oh my God, I forgot how much of a bitch she really was.
Yeah. I really like that. That was like Nebula's never really been my favorite character. I'm like, whatever. But like, I feel like you said, she really grew up as a character and she kind of was a main character in this movie. She kind of stole the show a little.
She really did. Underlining, it was kind of a huge chunk of this movie was her story, her arc.
Yeah.
Her being beaten down by her dad, but still craving the love and admiration of her dad. Like that's all she wanted to do was please him.
Oh yeah.
And you saw both sides because you saw future her and past her. And she was torn.
How amazing was that scene where she shot herself to protect Gamora?
So she did love her sister.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, she loved her sister.
Mm-hmm.
Also, the Gamora thing, it was good to see her. But like I don't have issues. I'll have issues if they bring her back, like permanently.
So a friend of mine had a theory that maybe the next movie of the
Mhm.
next Guardians movie might be them trying to find the real Gamora, but they can't bring her back if they're not going to
They can't.
bring whoever was sacrificed for the Soul Stone this time.
Right. Because somebody had to be sacrificed for the Soul Stone, people. You know that.
Do we need
That's the rule.
do we need to now is this a segue into some of the things we had issues with and starting with that one?
Yeah, I think so because that's a big issue. So like, here's like one of the biggest spoilers, one of the biggest surprises in the movie for me. You had Hawkeye and you had Black Widow in search. So they split up teams and they're going after past versions of the stones. So they're going after the Soul Stone. How do you get the Soul Stone? You have a soul for a soul. Red Skull
You have
told you.
Give us
And
what you love.
explains it to them. So what's even crazy? He's like, yeah, there's no reversing this. He specifically said that.
Mm-hmm.
Like a soul for a soul. There's no going back from that. You get the Soul Stone, but that soul is there. Period. And so there was a fight between Clint and Natasha. That was good. I really liked that they were like fighting to be the hero.
Yes,
You know,
they were that.
and Clint is like looking at her, and he's like, you know, my family, and she's like looking at him. She's like, yeah, your family. And
Yeah.
it was so hard. Oh
So
God.
if you can't tell, Natasha's the one who is sacrificed for the
Oh,
stone. And it was such a good
hurts.
scene. ScarJo and Jeremy Renner did an amazing job. They're friends. It was just amazing, the acting and the anguish and the resignation they had. And they were each trying to sacrifice themselves to save the other. And part of me was like, I actually want Jeremy Renner to die. Right. I was like, I want him because he's been this emotional core of the movie. And I was like, wow,
Yeah.
how poetic would that be? And
It would be amazing.
Right?
You know, he gave everything for the world and his family.
yeah. And I thought that would have been very nice and very unexpected. But we got Natasha dying, right? And I loved it. It was beautifully acted, but I have a problem with it beyond the fact that she died. It's the fact that one of the only two Avengers that died was the one female. And it had to be that a woman had to die for the men to succeed.
It's a weird way to take it. I didn't take it that way. Like it was a woman. I actually see it as, you know what's funny? I didn't even realize it was like a woman thing. I actually just saw it as like a character, like a
No.
genderless character, just like the entity, a Black Widow. That's who passed away,
The
and
entity of
she
Black
was
Widow
such.
is innately tied to her femininity and as a woman.
I
Because you wouldn't have a Black
Yeah.
Widow without it being a woman. You would never have a gender bent male Black Widow.
There could be in one alternate reality.
But like what I'm saying, like I didn't have a problem with it in universe because it made sense. It made sense that she died. But from a larger standpoint, looking at like narrative and looking at media, the issue I had was literally, oh, you have to kill the one female. Like, why does she have to die so that the men can succeed? Because that is a story trope that always goes in many heroes' tales, is that there's always the sacrifice. Like, think about Game of Thrones in the legend of Azor Ahai, who's the savior of the world who beat back the Long Night. The only way he was able to create Lightbringer was to kill his wife, to drive the sword through his beloved wife's chest to temper the steel for it to become the weapon to save the world. So that's the only issue I had. I was like, the one woman, you got to sacrifice the one woman so that they can succeed. That's the only problem I had with that. Otherwise, it was beautifully acted and it was just amazing.
What would it have been better if it was Hawkeye?
Yeah, because that would have been what is it? Is a reversal of tropes or a subversion of expectations? Because there was like, oh yeah, like I think it was kind of expected she would die, right? Like we're like,
But
okay,
if you look at like the top tier women, like if like I guess people who are involved in this victory, most of them are women.
right, and that's fine. But we're talking about the core group of Avengers that only had one woman in it, and it's the fact that she had to die. That's the only issue. That's just coming from
I like that it was her because to me it was 100% unexpected. Like she was
totally
probably the last. She was probably the last person in the world that I thought was gonna go. Just like last movie where I was like, "There's no way they're gonna get rid of Gamora."
no.
But they got rid of Gamora, so like that was a thing for me. But like, so she was actually the hero. She was
Right, but she was the sacrifice. This goes back to Greek mythology, to Iphigenia being sacrificed so that the Greeks could go to the Trojan War. Like that's how old this trope is.
Yeah.
I was like, you can't beat me on that part.
That's my Lauren. Also, you know, speaking of like dope ass women, again, she didn't have like her biggest shine because she just had her movie. But Captain Marvel, when she came in, she showed up.
Yeah, she did. Every time she came.
She like showed up.
That's why
She's like, oh yeah, by the way, I'm dope.
But like, that's where I was calling it. It was Deus Ex Machina. Like, she was literally just coming to save the day. And then she was like, leave, which I appreciated. Like, she was the one, save the day, leave, save the day, leave.
Yeah, she's absolutely Marvel Superman.
Yeah.
You know, she comes in, she's like, cool, do what I gotta do. Now I gotta go do what I gotta do. And she bounces.
Yeah.
So it was a bummer to see Scarlett Johansson die.
Yeah.
And it really was. And then I was like, oh, well, they're gonna bring her back. And I always thought it would be such a cop out if they just like, well, oh, they're gonna build a new gauntlet and they're gonna snap their fingers and everything's gonna be fine. I was like, yeah, but there's no consequences. No. There were consequences.
Did you notice
And I'm very happy with that.
Did you notice that Jeremy Renner was actually wearing her widow bites?
Oh, I did. Oh,
I appreciated that.
I did. Oh, Ronan. I love him so much. Like, he might be one of my top 3 favorite characters now.
I love that he went from Hawkeye being at the bottom of your favorites
Bottom
to now one
tier.
of the best.
He cut an Outrider in half with a sword. That was pretty cool. Thanks to our sponsor, Avid Technology, for providing us with the tools, or should I say, pro tools, to record, edit, and mix our podcast and get our message out clearly to the world.
Try Avid first to start recording today for free at avid.com/pro-tools.
Yay.
Yay.
What else didn't I like?
I had lots of issues. So if you need a moment to think, I can just vent. Because it's fresh
okay. So
and it hurts.
I have a problem. The biggest death, obviously the biggest death. I thought it was going to be both Captain America and Iron Man.
Okay, yes.
It wasn't.
No.
It wasn't. It was, of course, this whole episode, spoilers, I don't say spoiler. It was Iron Man.
Yeah.
And then I thought about it. It had to be Iron Man.
It had to be.
It had to be.
We began with Iron Man.
We absolutely did. And the most beautiful bookending.
Mm-hmm.
The MCU started with like Iron Man. And what's the last words of Iron Man? Him standing in front of them saying, I am Iron Man. Boom.
Yeah, that was.
Universe starts.
In Spanish,
right?
it was Yo soy Iron Man.
Oh, that's awesome. That's really great. So then he has like his, the Infinity Gauntlet, and he's like, I am Iron Man. Snap. Oh, it was such a beautiful bookend. It was so nice. There was one issue I had with Pepper when like, he's like dying and like people go up to him. Why was she not like the first one rushing up to hug him in tears? She like waited a little bit. And then she's like, oh, you can rest now. It's like, no, I would be ugly crying. I would lose my mind. So that was a little weird.
Well, it was because Tom Holland had gotten to him first. Spider-Man had gotten to him first.
Oh, that was
sobbing.
sweet.
And it was so sad and poetic that he died in Tony's arms and then Tony died in his, right? I thought it was weird too because she was just kind of hanging out there. But I think I actually like the fact that she said you can rest now because that has been his mission since Ultron.
Yeah.
And she even said when they were in that alternate future that you can go to bed, but can you rest knowing like you can make a difference and possibly change all this, right?
Right. So like again, like the one of the biggest issues. So
if you talk about my issue
my
before
predictions,
I rant, I'll kill you.
Yeah. No. We'll get into Captain America right now. Yeah.
Okay.
So, well, I'll just go with, how about the mantle? Like switching the mantle of Captain America.
I didn't have an issue with that.
Right?
So you can talk about that.
I did. So my issue with this was, well, see, but then it goes into your issue and the bigger issue. So the handing over the mantle of Captain America, because Captain America is like, I can't be Cap anymore. Well, there's reasons for that. But like, so the mantle went to Falcon, which Lauren, I was re-listening to the last episode with the theories. Lauren was spot on. And she was like, it'd be dope if it was Falcon. I didn't think Falcon was going to be like the I don't know. I just didn't see him taking over the mantle of Captain America.
I don't think he'll be the leader.
Comic books.
I don't think he'll be the leader, but he'll be Captain America.
See, that's why I think Captain America is the leader. Like he is.
And you know what?
Captain America.
He was the leader of this movie. I really liked how much he was the leader.
Yeah, he was. He was Cap. He punched Thanos in the face. He took a beating. He kept pushing forward.
Mjolnir?
I forgot how much I love that. So Cap is absolutely worthy.
He's the ruler.
He was like wielding Mjolnir. He was shooting people with lightning. It was crazy. It was crazy.
Everyone.
It was so crazy. And then
was started clapping when he grabbed Mjolnir and he had Mjolnir in one hand and the shield in the other in his epic hero pose. Everyone was clapping.
I love how Thor, he had Mjolnir and he also had Stormbreaker. And then like with Cap, he was like, here, you take the small one.
Yeah. He's like, no, I want that one.
I think that was a great scene, and it shows that, you know, Cap has even grown from Age of Ultron, where he barely nudged Mjolnir, to now he can just full on carry him.
Okay.
You know,
now,
wield it around.
I get into my angry where I feel like Cap's character was completely assassinated by the last 2 minutes of the movie.
Yes.
Okay. So I have a lot of feels. Everyone who's listened to the show has known I've been trying to make fetch happen, Stucky happen. I'm okay because I knew Disney was going to go no homo. Okay. So it started with my issue was there was absolutely zero mention of Bucky where everyone else is mourning their lost and dead people. I'm like, Cap was mourning Peggy, who's been dead for 2 movies, and not Bucky, right?
Yeah, but that was his true love.
Okay. But I'm just saying, like, he already mourned Peggy. Why are we mourning Peggy again? Right. So that was an issue, but I was like, whatever, they want to do no homo. And the only mention we got in the whole movie until the very end was when Steve was fighting himself, he told the other Steve, Bucky is alive. Okay. So again, he's acknowledging that he knows pre-Winter Soldier movie, which was like 2 years before, that Bucky is the Winter Soldier. He is active Winter Soldier, right? So he is being held captive by Hydra. So then we get the final battle. We get like some very measly scenes of Bucky fighting. Okay, fine. I would have loved like I swear there was more love for the friendship between Steve and Sam, who I'm like, you've known Sam for 2 or 3 years, right?
Yes. Yes.
I'm like, there wasn't even acknowledgement like, oh, Bucky's back, right? Or like Bucky walking up to Steve saying like, hey, on your, like, I got your back, or being the sniper for him. I was like, there was more love between Rocket and Bucky than there was Steve and Bucky, right? So that was an issue. So this is leading in to my...
Well, the Rocket and Bucky thing, let's make Rucky happen.
No, I don't think it's reality, okay? So at the end of the movie, Steve goes back in time to go hide or get rid of the stones, right?
Right.
And then makes a decision when he goes back in time to instead stay there, marry Peggy, and live the life he's always wanted, which is what you...
Oh, shit. So Joe's prediction came true.
Yeah, it's no homo. They did it. So I was like, and then Steve shows up at the very end as an old man to pass the mantle. Issue 1 was, excuse me, why wasn't there a Bucky scene with that? Like, hey, Steve, it was more Bucky saying, hey, you go, Sam. And I'm like, dude, your bestie. I mean, and I get it. Like, maybe Bucky understood, but I'm like, there could have been like a hug. Like, hey, haven't seen you in 60 years. Like,
hey, I have a huge issue with that. I'm right there with you. I think out of everybody, including Black Widow, I really think that Winter Soldier, that Bucky, got the shit end of the stick.
Yeah, he totally got screwed. Sebastian Stan's an amazing actor, and people love the Winter Soldier. Like, that's again one of the greatest Marvel movies, right up there, you know. But so I feel like they really were like, maybe they were really trying not to have a relationship between Steve and Bucky, which was, I think, really suffers the character and affects Cap's character. Where I feel like his character was completely assassinated. Like I love this movie. I cried so much, sobbing in the theater with people. I laughed, everything. The last 2 minutes, I was angry because what that means is that Steve went back in time to live with Peggy with the knowledge that S.H.I.E.L.D. is Hydra, that Hydra has been holding Bucky captive, tortured, brainwashed, and made to kill people for that entire time. And Steve did nothing? Who the fuck?
Yeah, Steve Rogers, you punk.
Who the fuck is he? It wasn't like he lost the serum. He had the serum. They didn't take the Vita Rays away. So he lived as Captain America. I know we didn't get to see what his life was like, except that he's dancing with Peggy. But like
Oh, that was
that
sweet.
means
Come on. That was
no,
sweet.
because I was so angry.
What? No.
No.
If you remove yourself from that, that was sweet.
Fine, he got his dance, but
Thank you. Thank you.
I'll give you that. But that means Steve knowingly let his best friend, one of the most important people in Steve's life, suffer as the Winter
You know what that makes me think? That makes me think that Bucky was kind of a dick.
Well, okay, so they did press, I think it was in Shanghai, and everyone was
Mhm.
asking Chris Evans about Bucky. Like, what about Bucky? Because they were talking about Peggy being his one true love, and everyone's like, what about Bucky, Bucky,
Right.
Bucky? And so Chris Evans was like, oh no, he loves Bucky, blah, blah, blah. But there was something where it's like he said the two most important people to Steve are Peggy and Bucky. Okay, if they're the two most important people to Steve's life, then what the fuck? You knowingly let your friend suffer for um 60 years being a assassin, and like yeah, Bucky was not treated well. Like he was
No,
tortured.
at all. So expanding on the hate of that is even at the end of it where like Cap's like old man and he's like, oh yeah, I live my life. I helped save the world because I'm dope. But then like I went into retirement because like I'm selfish. Not that he's selfish. He kind of earned
But
it.
you know
still.
what? It did turn into
It
selfishness.
was so he like lived his life and he's there and he's old and he's like, yeah, so I can't be Captain America because I'm like old man now. And he's like, oh, so Sam, hey, check out this shield. It's yours now. It's like, wait, what? So number one, you just hand the mantle of Captain America over to Sam, who you've known a very short amount of time.
Mhm.
Number two, you should have handed it over to the Winter Soldier, who you've known and who has been your best friend, who grew up with you in the past, and you don't even consider passing over the mantle to him.
Mhm.
Number three, you decide to stay in the past and live your life, and then Bucky is now a man out of time like you were, and you knew how sad and depressing and isolating that was. And then you didn't even give him an opportunity to come back with you. You didn't give him an opportunity to say, hey, by the way, I'm going to go back and I'm not going to come. I'm not coming back. Like you literally left him there. You dick. Yeah. Captain America, I love you. I was rocking a Captain America shirt to the movie because he's like my favorite character. That made me just really dislike him.
Yeah.
For that. He's your boy. He escaped death. You went through heaven and hell, and he was evil, and then you brought him back, and then you guys are boys, and you guys are saving the world. You guys are fighting. You guys are from like, what was it, 70 years in the past? Right? Like everybody he knows is dead. You are the only person to keep him sane. And you're like, oh yeah, by the way, I'm gonna go home. I'll see you, a lifetime from now. That sucked so hard for me.
Yeah, I was so angry. I was like, wait a second. Captain America, Steve Rogers was an amazing character without this entire movie, this entire series. Chris Evans is amazing. And then I was like, what the fuck is this bullshit? Like,
dude, he totally pulled it's, oh yeah, by the way, me, which is not Cap's MO.
No,
that's not what he does.
Not if it meant sacrificing Bucky. I think if he was sacrificing the Avengers, I could see that because he's done that before for Bucky. So Civil War, right? He said, screw it to the entire world to save Bucky, right? And then what happens? So I feel like, again, this was a big no homo. This was a big I really think that that's what it feels like. They were trying to distance Captain America's character, Steve Rogers, from Bucky Barnes.
I think they've heard you trying to make Stucky happen, and they were like, we have to make sure this does not happen.
Oh, but so they make us hate Captain America instead. Lovely. You know what?
Can I tell you one of my biggest issues is? What about the goats, Lauren? What about the goats?
My poor goats.
What about the goats?
Well, I think the scene could have been salvaged if after they gave it to Sam. And I think Sam did Anthony Mackie did a great job, whatever.
He did.
I think the scene could have been salvaged if afterwards, Sam left and then Bucky walked over to sit on the bench with Steve and maybe said something and they're just sitting watching the lake and maybe said something like, tell me about the life or something like that. Like if they'd had that little old man moment where they could have talked and been friends, but there was nothing. It really felt like
no, I agree with that. Him just sitting down next to him, even having a conversation, a handshake, something understanding, acknowledging hey, it's really good to see you.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm sorry about Peggy, but I'm so happy for you guys. Something to acknowledge that, but we didn't get any of that.
Or even something like saying like, you did good, kid, or at least one of us got to live our lives. Like that would have been like an acknowledgement, like, okay, that's cool. Or even if they just sat down next to each other in silence and then there was a scene cut, like that would have been okay, but we got none of that.
Nothing. Yeah, it was really weird. You know what it reminded me of? Like in Star Wars, when Han Solo, this is spoiler alert. You guys should have seen this already. When Han Solo dies and like Rey gets off of the ship with Chewbacca and Princess Leia goes and hugs Rey and completely ignores Chewbacca. She's like, dude, you don't know Rey. You just met her.
Yes, I agree.
Hug Chewbacca. They have a relationship. It's like, dude, you gave the mantle. You had this beautiful moment with Sam, which is great. I think that's really, really cool. Why did Bucky get no moment with Cap? He got nothing.
He got a half-hearted one-arm hug. Like that's all. And I was like, you guys had a longer hug in Civil War. Or no, in Infinity War. You guys got a longer hug.
If it makes you feel better, I'm pretty sure when they leaned in, they smelled each other. So, you know.
I'm so upset. Like I'm upset not even for the fact that Stucky didn't happen. It was just the assassination of Steve Rogers / Captain America's character. I was like, not my Cap.
So how I justify it for myself, because I have to, because I love Cap. I love that he got his swan song, you know, like he got his reward. What sucks is it was so selfish. It was so selfish, and it was at the detriment to your best friend and brother, Bucky.
And he would never do that. Like that is the antithesis of Steve Rogers. Because I agree, it was because I could accept it as long as it wasn't at the cost of Bucky, right?
Agreed.
Because even the Captain America that was in the past where he's fighting him completely got thrown out for a loop. And the reason he got his ass kicked was because Steve Rogers from the current timeline told him Bucky's alive. So that says how important Bucky is. And then we got the shaft. Like, I'm mad.
Yeah, it was strange. Like I was kind of bummed out with that. But you know, I'm happy for Cap. I'm miserable for Bucky, but I'm happy for Cap.
I'm not. No.
So I really think in the Falcon Winter Soldier series that they're doing, I'm pretty sure like 3 episodes are going to be dedicated to therapy.
I hope so. If they're having Steve Rogers lead group therapy, who hasn't even dealt with his own shit, and he admits that he hasn't dealt with his own shit, and then he's trying to lead therapy. Sure, let's have group therapy for Steve and like for Bucky and Sam, please.
Thank you to our amazing community on Patreon for supporting this podcast.
You can support us too and get different perks and gifts depending on which Neuro Jedi tier you sign up for. For example, if you're on our Neuro Padawan $5 tier, then you're probably listening to this episode a day early before its public release.
Your support helps us grow and continue to create this podcast. Plus, a portion of the proceeds go to a different cause or individual in the brain injury survivor community each month. Sign up at patreon.com/the NeuroNerds. So I didn't really get enough Groot. I was hoping to see like this really beautiful moment between Groot and Rocket.
They got like a half.
Yeah, it was like a quick like thing. Star-Lord, I kind of wanted someone to punch him in the face because it's his fault that all this happened to begin with.
I'll do it.
Right? I don't know why. I'm looking at Lauren on the computer because we're doing like the Skype thing.
Fact check. They're actually using Squadcast to record Lauren remotely from Spain in this episode, not Skype. Shout out to squadcast.fm.
And she made a fist and she like punched towards the screen, but like punching Star-Lord. I literally flinched. I'm not joking. I fear this tiny woman. But overall, amazing movie.
Yes.
That Captain America thing, it was a lot, but it doesn't take away how beautifully told this story was. Russo's did an amazing job. It was a 3-hour movie. Yes. Did not feel like 3 hours. I remember at some point, Felice, she looked over at her watch. She was like, yeah, I looked over and it was like 2 hours in. And I was like, how is this 2 hours in? It doesn't feel that way because you're so engrossed in the story. Oh, I have a theory. You want to hear my theory?
Sure.
It's about a future character. So they kept on pointing out issues with the ocean, right? And typhoons.
Yes. Aquaman?
And, right? And no, Marvel's Aquaman. Name one.
Yeah, I know.
I really think that scene, like all those scenes with the ocean and all that craziness, I really think that's going to lead into us seeing Namor sooner rather than later.
No, it's going to be the first official crossover movie with Jason Momoa's shirtless abs.
that's weird. I'm disturbed how turned on I am by that. But yeah, I'm very happy. And another really huge surprise for me, no after credit scene.
Yes, I agree.
There was none. So if you stay to the end, because everybody did in the theater, there was, I think, like 3 people that didn't. And I'm pretty sure that they left to go pee because they had to, or their bladder would have ruptured. There was all the credits hit and it was fine. It was like little flashes of, like, I don't know, pictures from like other movie stuff. At the very end, the Marvel Studios logo pops up and then you just hear hammering.
Yeah.
And it's the hammering of Tony Stark when he's making the Iron Man.
It was clinking.
The clanking of him making the Iron Man suit in the original Iron Man, which I thought was a beautiful tie-in, you know, a little bookend to the series. And there is no after credit scene because this is the official end of Phase 3.
Yep. Before
we start Fantastic Phase 4.
I'm done. I think I'm done with superhero movies for a very long time because I have to recover from all this.
This is a thing. By the way, when you come home, we'll still go see it again. Like we have to see it for sure.
See it in English. I do like. There was a couple times in the movie with the acting, especially with Jeremy Renner. And even Chris Evans. I was even thinking like, shit, could this be one of the few comic book movies that could possibly get an Oscar nomination?
Okay, I've had that conversation with 2 or 3 people. It was so well acted.
Yes.
It was so, like, the emotion, the stories, like, forget the fact that we're talking about aliens, superpowers. Forget all of that. Just strictly the stories that are being told.
Yeah.
Are beautifully told stories.
Yes.
You know, the acting is top-notch acting from top-notch actors.
Yes.
Oh, the tears were real. The tears were so real.
They were.
Oh my God, the tears are so real. I cried so much. Oh. I'm crying now. I'm crying now mostly because I fear that at any point Lauren's foot can come through the webcam and kick me in the mouth. No?
Maybe.
But I am happy that, like, it ended on such a negative note because Tony Stark is dead. But I don't think Tony Stark is, like, gone. Physically, yes.
Gone.
I think he's gonna be around in AI. You know what I mean?
Oh, it's like Jarvis? Like a new Jarvis?
Like Jarvis. I think he just might be in the background of, like, the Iron Spider suit and be like, hey kid, things are cool. I'm a billionaire. Hee. And I don't know. Right?
Mm-hmm. That would be sweet.
I think that could be a thing.
I hope
and I'm really excited.
I want her to adopt Peter Parker.
Oh,
and Harley, the little boy from Iron Man 3, was there at the funeral.
I didn't notice that.
Yep, he was there.
I didn't notice that.
Yep.
Damn it. I was literally, so, like, the whole time, like, I was looking at everything, every person, every character. I'm like, who is that? Is that a person? Is that a thing? Is that it? I did not notice that. Oh, I did like that. Well, yeah. So now that we know, like, Black Widow is dead,
Mm-hmm.
and that there's no turning around the Soul Stone, which I love. So that means Gamora is dead. There's no bringing back Gamora. So those are the consequences.
There's that other version of her.
That's very true. The other version wasn't very nice.
Yeah.
But she still gets it. So, like, I love that there were still consequences. So we got most people back, but the people before the snap, or the ones that, like, you know, had to go with the Soul Stone, they're not coming back. I appreciate
Yeah.
it. I'm a fan.
So I think this is NeuroNerds approved and recommended.
This, without question, this gets the double N. It gets a full-on NeuroNerd.
NeuroNerds.
So there's 2 N's and 2 R's in NeuroNerds. So it's the double N and it's required reading.
Oh shit, Lauren, you a literary genius.
Alliteration.
So it's really cool about this. This is our quantum time travel episode.
Mm-hmm.
This is the first time we're doing this.
Fact check. This is not the first time Joe and Lauren have recorded an episode remotely. In episode 33, which aired on October 8, 2018, Lauren recorded remotely from her home, instead of in person with Joe. However, this is the first time they are recording in different time zones, so Joe isn't completely incorrect. This is more of a partial fact check.
And it's not that we're doing it like here. Lauren is in a different time zone. She's in a different part of the world.
I'm 9 hours ahead of you right now.
Lauren is literally in the future.
Yep.
So when you're on the plane, did you realize that the Earth was flat?
Oh yeah, totally. The Earth is flat. Antarctica is bordering the entire flat Earth, and we're on a disc, or we're on a turtle or something.
I hope we're on a turtle. I really do. Maybe a fox. Fox is much faster than a turtle. Real quick in stroke news. I know it sounds weird, but it's like a weird thing. John Singleton, the director of Boys in the Hood, recently had a stroke. Initially, they said it was a minor stroke, but now he's in, I believe, a medically induced coma, which is crazy. You know, there's Kenny Anderson, a former NBA player, had a stroke recently. There's just, it can happen to anybody. You know, stay aware. 80% of these strokes can be avoided. You know, early detection is everything. Take care of yourselves. Really, eat right. Go to a doctor. Most importantly, mentally take care of yourself. Don't be crazy like Joe.
Yes, very true.
Don't be physically afraid of people like Lauren. No, be physically afraid of people like Lauren.
Fear me.
Are you a stroke or brain injury survivor looking for a community and support? Well, the NeuroNerds are here to help. Join our #UsoRock Facebook group at facebook.com/groups/UsoRock to connect with other survivors like you.
Plus, read other inspirational brain injury survivor stories on Joe's blog at josorocks.com/UsoRock. And submit your stories there as well. We want to hear them.
And remember,
You so rock.
Stop laughing at us. Also, Lauren is in Spain. Why are you in Spain, Lauren? You want to tell the people?
I'm celebrating my 30th birthday.
Woo, young lady. You're legally able to drink now.
And I have been drinking for the free food.
Woo! That makes me happy because Tipsy Lauren is my favorite Lauren. Lauren, I'm so happy that we're able to do this. Like I really am. I miss you terribly. I really like you're part of my rhythms. You're one of my closest friends. Your family. I love you. I'm so happy that you're over there having fun and enjoying yourself. I'm actually really, really happy that we're able to do this and process this so close because I just saw it the other day and you just saw it right now. Yep. So I'm happy that we can do this together. And I can't wait to actually do this together, yep. Like in person. That's going to be so much fun. So on this quantum episode, I'd like to say, as always, the NeuroNerds, we are here to help. Reach out to us at the NeuroNerds everywhere. Reach out to Lauren in Spain at Lauren L. Manzano on Instagram. Yes. Reach out to me at Joe So Rocks on everywhere. On everywhere? Yes. Everywhere, period. And on this beautiful, Stucky is not a thing. We didn't make fetch happen. Captain is kind of a jerk for leaving everybody. Notes. These Quantum Realm NeuroNerds are out.